Hello, everybody. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Y'all hear me okay?
We can hear you. Hi, guys.
How was everybody's weekend or week? Not even weekend. I'm ready for the weekend. How was everybody's week?
It was good.
It was good.
Mine is tiring. Very tiring. I have a sick child and he's been something else. I don't know if it's the boy child or what it is. When men get sick, y'all know how they get.
Oh man, they take it to the extreme.
Yeah,
like
they do.
He's practicing.
Yeah,
he's practicing
when he gets sick. Yes. So it's been a little crazy. I haven't slept in 2 days, but I think I still look fabulous for not sleeping in 2 days.
You
still do. I know.
Yes, thank you, ladies. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, everyone. Welcome to the show. Let me let y'all see my beautiful face all by myself. Oh, okay. All right. Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you for joining us. As always, we're bringing the G's from the streets right into your plates. Today, we're discussing an informative matter that affects some of our brothers and sisters in our community. We want them to know that they're not alone. Some of us know nothing when it comes to special needs children. We're not equipped to handle it if we are ever put in a situation or if we had to deal with friends or families placed in the situation. So today, what we're going to do is going to educate ourselves as well. So please stay tuned for that. The first thing we're going to get into is our G's. Rose, please G's us up.
Hello, guys. So tonight we're gonna G's, but we're not gonna be calling names around here. So anyway,
no, please.
There was a there was a Facebook post that was posted all around the place yesterday. I think the day before, whatever. So it was about this girl in Liberia sending a birthday treat to her baby father in the U.S. So she said, happy birthday, Debbie. And she had to say all kinds of stuff under the post, tagging him and everything. And then a couple of bloggers picked it up and then it posted all over the website, all over Facebook. So it was funny. It was so funny because it's like, girlfriend, you took all that time to do that. Do you know how many baby fathers that I don't know how baby mamas feels like if we want to post, we will be like bombing the internet. But when I saw the post, actually I know the fellow, so I was like, what is this? But anyway, I feel some type of way, even though I feel like sometimes women get frustrated when it comes to our kids and we don't have the other person taking part, but we don't know what's going on, But I feel like maybe out of frustration, she decided to post that. And sometimes it comes out of jealousy, because I know the fellow is already moving on with his life in the US. So who knows? But ladies, if you was, you like, we have Jennifer, she's a mother, she's a wife. But Eva, as a babe, me and you on this platform, and our other girlfriend, Ave, she's not here. We miss you. But as a single mom, do you ever take off, want to write some stuff, but what stops you? Like, what are some of the things that you talk to yourself and be like, do it worth it? Do you ever think like, do it worth it? Like, do I have to write a note to this guy and to the public, about how I feel? You think, do you sometimes want to do that? Do you think it will make you feel better?
No, I mean, my Isaac's father, he's very great. He's a wonderful person. And for me, that's like putting your personal business out there too much. Right. And it's not worth it. It's not worth even going there. And when you look at it, it's kind of the women who take their kids and they're bitter or whatever it is for the breakup or whatever it is, it's not worth it. I mean, to me, she made herself look, I don't know what to call it, but she made herself look really, a little bit on the cray side, I would say. But yeah, it's not, even if you have a horrible baby father, because your son sees that or your daughter sees that, and for them, it's like downing their parent, and you don't want to put that in the public and have that kind of relationship thing like that. And I know there was some rebuttal to her, but I'm not even going to go into that of what she posted. But it wasn't worth it. Just let it go. Why is it worth it?
You know what? The funny thing is, when I first seen it, it was funny to me. Like, wait. But then I said to myself, do you really have to wish the person happy birthday? Is it that serious?
Right.
Like, I could see you bashing him on any other day, right?
Right.
Whatever. You're just venting. That's your Facebook. You do what you want to do. However, but this is on his special day. You pick that. But let me just remind y'all that apparently the fellow did this to her last year
Oh, really?
for her birthday. So I think social media just picked it up and took it and ran with it, but I think it's a joke.
Oh, it's a
So
joke.
correct me if I'm wrong. I have a screenshot of it. I mean, I saw it. I should have screenshotted it. So he said on her birthday, "Happy birthday to the number one cheater, the one chick that got 10 boyfriends or whatever." So I think now when I saw that, I was like, oh, so this is like a jab to jab, like joking type of thing. But she went viral. She went viral on Twitter Bullet Room. She went viral on Liberian comedy. I mean, everything. People were just like, I thought it was funny because I was on Twitter Bullet Room in the comment section and I was like, do you really have to say happy birthday? Like this. That was when the HBD is necessary. You know, when people put that on my post, I can't stand it. Just spell the word out. If you can't say happy birthday, leave it. That's how I feel about that. Like, she could at least give him HBD.
I know it.
But anyways,
Or
whatever.
nothing at all. Just nothing at all. You don't need to have nothing at all. Just leave it.
Yeah, that's why I said, you know, all I burnt it, and I forced mine, but I forced, and I forced.
Who cares?
And I
It's not
forced.
worth it. Just let it be.
And
You know?
and for me,
Mhm.
like that don't even solve a problem because a person would be a person.
Right.
Everybody responsible for their own actions. You know.
Absolutely.
You also gotta remember that what you post, people are watching, and people will see you in a different way. You know, so now you have to like explain yourself to so many people on social media. And the funny thing about it, that I didn't see him. He didn't respond to this whole thing, and I know he have a wife, and I like the fact that I didn't hear the wife say anything. You understand me? Because like some people be like, "What? I'm going for her.
She grown. She too
The wife
grown.
is grown. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I
And you know
give
what?
it
People
to
were
her.
sharing it. Yes, it was a
I
lot.
give it to her because that's maturity. Sometimes
Yep.
people be like, "What? You came for my hubby? I'm coming for you."
Listen.
But anyway, she looked like a young girl. So, my girl, take care of your little boy, whatever it is. Be praying for that boy. You bring yourself to America, you'll come to must stop it. Hold your heart. Small.
Yes.
Then you bring the little boy, you will play the boy will bring you to America. So I think that is I'm telling you, I think that is opportunity for you. I think even though you see it like he's not whatever you think he's not doing, but you have an opportunity in life for you, because I know he would not forget about his son. He would bring his son to the US and you will follow next. So home girl, that way your heart small.
I think she was looking for attention and she got it.
Yeah,
we are now talking about her.
Hey, not good attention. But they ain't play with her. Not good attention. Well, anyway, our co-host that's watching, she said, I can never disrespect the father of my kids publicly, ever. What does that say about my choice of men?
Yes. Hey, Ivan. Hey, Hawa. I don't know if Hawa's under here. We miss y'all.
So guys, I want to read a post. I was just trying to find a post.
Oh, God.
Happy blessed birthday. That's the blessed one I can get. That one for me.
You gotta put God in there first.
Yeah, you put God in the man. So my son, nonsense dad. Really, that greatest mistake I ever made was to allow you to eat something. Really?
It must have been sweet.
It got me pregnant. I pray nobody ever make that mistake with you again. They may marry. I don't know how you do it. They may marry. You got married. You get everything. She said mistake with you. Then she said all the best. Really? And she had to curse him. She had to go there.
You know what? Let me just say something. It was a dickhead for me.
Yeah.
You know why? My little sister, she's so funny. She was like, wait, people know dickhead in Liberia? She said, but why she said dickhead like she living in America? When somebody said dickhead, you know, from Philly?
America, yeah.
Or you in America somewhere.
She watching a lot of live, man. She watching a lot of live.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, but anyway.
All right, y'all.
We wish you the best.
Yes, it was definitely funny.
Yeah.
We're about to move on. Let's get into candidly speaking topic. Our guest is already on. I'm going to bring her on in a few minutes, but I'm just going to do this little intro first. This candidly speaking is, it's special to me. Let me make one. It's special to me. So, and it's special to everybody on here, because I'm sure everybody on here knows somebody that has a special needs child. As a mother of a special needs son, he has ADHD and mild autism. This discussion hits home for me. And one of our guests is a mother of, she's not coming in, but I'll talk about him. She was going to come in, but she couldn't make it, of a child that's on the autism spectrum, and he's nonverbal. And our guest that is coming on has a son with Down syndrome. Before we begin with our guests, we'll discuss special needs, what the autism spectrum disorder is, and Down syndrome. And we'll also ask our guests questions about their experience. Because sometimes when you just give things and people don't come on and they don't give their experience and what they've gone through, then it brings it home a little bit more when people give you insight into their experience.
Right.
So special needs is, according to Very Well Family, quote, special needs is an umbrella term for a wide array of diagnoses, from those that resolve quickly, or those that can be challenging for life, and those that are relatively mild, to those that are profound. Children with special needs may have developmental delays, medical conditions, psychotic conditions, and or congenital conditions. These needs, special needs, require accommodation so children, they can reach their potential in life. So autism, or the autism spectrum disorder, according to CDC, which is not CDC back home, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in the United States. The autism spectrum disorder is a developmental disability that can cause significant social, communication, and behavioral challenges. There are often nothing about how people with autism look like that sets them apart from other people, but people with ASD, for short, may communicate, interact, behave, learn in ways that are different from most other people. Now, Down syndrome, according to the Mayo Clinic, Down syndrome is a genetic disorder caused when abnormal cell division results in an extra, full, or partial copy of the chromosome 21. This extra genetic material causes the developmental challenges and physical features of Down syndrome. Down syndrome, it varies in severity among individuals, causing lifetime intellectual disability and developmental delays. It's the most common genetic chromosomal disorder and cause of learning disabilities in children. Our guest tonight is Fatu. She has a son who has Down syndrome, and I'm going to bring her on now for her to us a little bit of stuff. Fatu, have your phone on. Turn your phone off.
If I have my phone on?
Yeah, I can hear an echo.
It's my tablet. That's what I was saying earlier. Let me...
Yeah, I can hear an echo.
All right, I can turn the phone, but I'm not showing though.
Just turn your volume down all the way to your phone.
Did you allow?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, but we can't turn your camera on. On the bottom, it should say start camera.
Hey, Eva?
Yes? I can hear you, but we can't see. Just turn your volume down all the way to your phone. Yeah. Are you listening to on the show on Facebook? Hear you, but we can't see. Hello.
Go out and come back in and see whether that will help.
Go back out and come back in, and then you press a lot.
Yeah, go back out and come back in. All right. Before she comes in, I'm going to talk about my my nephew a little bit. He's, like I said, he's on the autism spectrum disorder, and he's nonverbal. So when he was born, you know, when he was 1 or so, they took him to the doctors. You know how some of these doctors are like, oh, he'll grow out of it. He'll grow out of it. He turned to more doctors, turned 3 more doctors. It wasn't until he turned 5 years old and they took him to the doctors that they, you know, because at that time, he's 22 right now. Is he 22? Yeah, he's 22. No, he's going to be 22. Oh, I'm getting old. But anyways,
I know.
He's, I'm not telling you my age, but anyway, I was going to be 22. But
I know.
it wasn't until they went to the doctors finally and did a lot of testing and things like that, they found out, okay, he's nonverbal. He has some kind of challenges. And with kids, if you have children that are nonverbal, it's hard to communicate. You know, imagine not being able to talk and express your feelings if you're sick, if you're not feeling well or so. So that was challenges with him. And then he had some learning challenges and things like that. I think she's on now. Just with him. And then he had some learning challenges and things.
Are you watching the show on your phone?
Things like that. I think she's on now.
Yeah, she's on, but I think she's watching the show on the phone.
Are you watching the show? What are you on your device? Are you on your computer or on your phone? Yeah, she's on, but I think she's watching the show on the phone.
Are you getting any feedback?
Yeah, we're getting feedback.
Yeah, we're hearing ourselves. Are you on your phone or are you on your computer? What are you on your device? Are you on your computer or on your phone?
I'm on my tablet.
Is there any other devices on you that's on?
I've switched.
I don't know if there's a, she's in Ghana, so I don't know if there's might be a delay as to why.
Probably.
It might be a delay due to that.
Yeah, we're hearing our.
Can you hear us or no?
Cells, are you on your?
Yeah, it's definitely a delay because
yeah, it's a delay because we just hearing, we hear him like we spoke ever since, and then we just hearing it now, so it's a delay.
I don't know. Her video is frozen. I don't know.
Yeah, she's frozen. But just, I think continue on talking.
Is there any other devices on you that's on?
See, the delay is really bad.
Yeah, it's. I think there's a delay on her end.
Mm-hmm.
The feedback.
Yeah, the delay.
Yeah, it's like a delay. Your picture is freezing. It's frozen. What did you try it on earlier? What is it, your phone?
I think it's at a tablet.
She was fine earlier. I think she tried her phone. Okay, I'm gonna try and come back in your phone. Okay. Well, anyways, I'll just continue to talk. Or ladies, you guys can chime in if you want to. But anyway, like I was saying about my nephew, he had some like learning challenges and things like that. He had to be taught a lot of things. Now he can say a little bit of words. There was a challenge with him in school. So you have to go through the whole, it's called a IEP or individual education plan. My son has an IEP also. When he first started school, it was difficult for him to sit still. It was difficult for him to learn. And too many people in the classroom was like, he couldn't function because of the anxiety and things like that with the ADHD and being overactive and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So with the IEP, they had to make accommodations for him to say, okay, this is the environment he has to learn in. He had to get special aids for him, special teachers, to special education teachers to teach him. And for a while, you know, for me, it was like, you know, us Liberians, especially when it comes to discipline and stuff like that, people, we just say back home, oh, the child is too high-headed. They don't want to listen. They don't want to this. They don't understand that some kids do have these problems. And especially with some kids that have the physical part of it, then they want to push wish in it, or this person, this child they got witch, they got this, they got that. So for me, being an African parent, it's a little bit hard for me because here it is, you have a child, you tell them one thing, their mind is somewhere else, and they go do a whole nother thing, and you're like, oh, just not listening, you hard-headed, you this, that, and the other, and you just don't want to do this. So one day I was sitting down, I was talking with him, and he was 5 at the time. And I was like, Isaac, you know, I don't like disciplining you like this. I don't like you go to school, you act up, you do this, you do these things. You're not paying attention in school. But then he was like, Mommy, I understand what you're saying to me, but my brain keeps going and I don't know how to stop it.
Wow.
And at that point for me, it clicked to me like, there is something wrong.
Right.
I do need to go and do something, you know, and we, you know, for a while they were telling me, oh, put him on medication, put him on medication. I'm like, I don't want to put him on medication. I don't know how he's going to react to it. I don't know what's going to happen with him. I did not want to put him on any medication at all.
Right.
So I went to the doctors. I talked to them. I went to this special clinic. Finally, they're like, just try it. And I was like, okay, but it was hard trying. But the good thing is on the first try, we got the combination right for him. And now he's doing much better in school. He is able to sit. He is able to concentrate. He is able to do better. His brain has come down a little bit, and he's better able to function. Right. So if any of you ladies want to chime in, I'm going to try and see if I can bring her back in.
Okay. I mean, I think she's trying to come in.
Combination, right?
Oh.
Right for him.
The echo.
The delay is still there.
But and that he is.
But anyway, for me, I worked with autism kids and ADHD kids since I was 20 years old, Down syndrome kids, and I worked with them for like
kids, autism,
10 years.
20 years old, Down syndrome kids, and
the delay is crazy.
Like 10 years.
Okay.
So I work with autism, ADHD kids, Down syndrome kids for like almost 10 years. That's something I did, you know, almost all my life. And I'm telling you, they are amazing. Sometimes it's difficult, but once, like Eva said, once you get the medicine right, you get to enjoy them, you know. And I remember I used to see parents coming there, you know, because the parents is like rich people. I remember I had a client, her father owns one of these hotels. He owns that name of that hotel in every state. I mean, when it comes to see her, she ride the limo and she don't know what's going on. But just to see parents that have so much money and can't even have control over that, it's sad, you know. But again, that little girl was so amazing. I will tell you a story about her. She knew that we had supervisor, and she knew that some of the things that we are doing, we don't need to do it. So whenever she see the supervisor coming, she'd be like, she can't talk. She'd be like, trying to stop us from doing it because she see like the authority coming. And it's like it used to be amazing because you're thinking like a kid like that. What does she know that this person have authority? You know, nobody told her that. You know, nobody sat down to explain that to her. But she grabs it. She knows who's. And sometimes when we're doing some crazy things, we put her out the door, to step out the door, and when they come, she'll be like, "Mama, mama, mama." So we know that someone is coming.
Right.
But they have so many amazing personality. I'm telling you, I spent almost 10 years of my life dealing with kids, and I learned so many things. Sometimes they make you to feel like you think your life is something is wrong with you.
Right.
You know, see me, I wake up every morning and I don't even know what's going on. I depend on you to tell me to pick up my spoon. I depend on you to tell me to put my shoes on. And you think your life is terrible,
right?
You know. So I see Eva where she's coming from, and especially as a parent, it's like you like, oh my God, you deal with that. I used to deal with that like 16 hours, sometimes 8 hours a day, and it do get frustrating because it's like you sometimes you just don't know what to say to them,
right?
You know, even though you good buddies with them, but sometimes it's like what you said to them before, it's not going to work the next day. And you're figuring out what can I say to her? Like, then it get behavior wise, and you have to go and put them down. And especially in our Liberian community, I see a lot of kids that do need help, because I have worked around kids that I know that need help. But in our Liberian community, people don't do that. They don't take the kids to go get checkup. They feel like, oh, you know,
or even if they do, they're in denial.
Yes, they're in denial. And you know, and it's like, oh, they feel like that's not right. You know, I can tell my friend, you know, and I can tell this person, no, everybody was born in a different way. You know, that don't mean that because that person was born with that, and you know, they can process things the way you can process, that means you are better than them. But I think working with kids like that, even older people, that have made me so much better, that everybody I see, you know, I just want to give them love. I just want to share everything I have with them when it comes to love, you know, hugs and conversation wise. I just want to do it with them.
Right.
So working with kids like that and people that have those syndromes and stuff, it made me a better person today. And it made me see the world in a very different way.
Oh yes, definitely. I'll just chime in while we're still waiting for Fatu to come in. You know, after, like, as for me, I mean, like, I can't understand from Eva's point, because that was her first child. So, you know, maybe there was a time where she wasn't sure, but for me, it was like, you know, I had 2 kids prior to having my third child. So when I had my third child, you know, the same normal pregnancy, the normal, you know, got all the prenatal help and everything, you know, treated and everything. And you have the baby, and, you know, like Eva said, from the onset, he did everything that he was supposed to do on time, like crawling, walking. And then we came to talking. And I think it was probably like, he was probably like 2 when I started to realize that maybe something is wrong as far as his speech. And I'm like, why is he taking long to, like, I was comparing him to 2 little girls, like, in my family. And the first thing I got was to the doctor. It was like, oh, he's a boy. He's not, you know.
It says that.
Usually the boys are a little bit slower than the girls. Don't worry about it at all. Then, you know, I have 2 little ones that's close to each other. So yeah, I am now with a girl child that is 1 and is speaking clearly and everything. I'm noticing that something is wrong, you know. So like Eva said, for Josiah, he's now 5 years old. Actually, he just turned 5. And it was me, because I have experience, you know, in the field, and also the fact that I have experience as a mom, the fact that I had 3 other children, you know. So I'm like, I need to get. So I was the one. Nobody told me. I saw it, and then I said, you know, let's just go and figure out what is going on. And for sure, when I went to figure out what was going on, they told me that, you know, he had delayed speech. And trust me, I don't care how many times I have worked with kids like this, I have worked with adults like this. Just delayed speech was sounding like the worst thing to me. Like, oh my God, what is wrong with my baby? You know what I'm saying? So it took a while for me to accept it, to be like, you know what? I knew something was wrong. That's why I came. So now I'm going to do something about it, you know? So thank God we entered speech therapy, and flash forward today, he's doing so much better. But had I ignored it or felt embarrassed or whatever, he wouldn't get the help that he needs. Right. So definitely, if, you know, as mothers, we definitely know from the onset that something is off. So if you have that doubt, I will say to you, make sure you get the help you need. Definitely. You can't figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't. And they tell you, oh, don't compare the kids. The kids are different. or whatever. Oh, you're comparing him to, if you're comparing him to this other little girl, she's way advanced, don't worry about it. He'll be okay. No, don't listen to that. Even there will be times people will say, just pray, fast and pray. And I'm not here to say that fasting and praying don't work. Right. Absolutely, it does. But sometimes they just need this medical help. And I feel like if you step up and get the help, it would benefit that child. So I'm so glad that I did. And like I said, flash forward, my baby's 5 and his speech has improved because I got the help, the help that he needed.
He more than improved, Mom.
Okay. And you know what? The funny thing is, sometimes he speaks, Mom.
You know what? The funny thing is, sometimes he speaks.
Like sometimes I really be shocked. Like, wait, did you just say that?
Yeah.
Did you just say that?
Even sometimes I really be shocked. Wait, did you just say that? Yeah. Did you just say that to me?
Perhaps Eva.
Getting her?
Her face didn't look as frozen, but then it's
just to I cannot hear you, Eva.
We're hearing you now. We're hearing her.
I'm not frozen. I'm just maybe a little. The streaming is very not as fast as we have in terms of bandwidth, I guess.
Okay,
you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead and just say a little bit about, I think I'll come in from the standpoint of what happens in the US or in more developed countries compared to what happens in our own developing country context. All right. I had the US. And before he was born, I had gone through 2 tests to determine whether he had any birth defects. I think these are standardized tests that the US government puts in place for the health sector for any, pregnant mother that you have to go through certain tests. So the first test looks at the chemical balance in your fetus, all right? And when they did the chemical test, it was inconclusive. Now, one of the reasons they were doing this was because they considered me a high-risk pregnancy. I was pregnant at 39. I gave birth when I was 40. So that was inconclusive because there were certain chemical readings that they needed to look at to make sure that indeed there was going to be a child was going to have a birth defect, and that was inconclusive. And then later on, I did another test a little bit later than usual, which measures a fold in the child's neck to determine whether there was going to be some birth defect or not. But because I was about a week and a half late in going in, the child was a little bit bigger than what was desired. But in any case, he still fell within the normal range, except that he was on the borderline. Like he was like right at the tip. So I had my son, and it was when he was delivered that the doctors struggled with whether he had Down syndrome or not. They, if you look at the sheet, the birth record, they had scratch it out, put it back in, scratch it out, put it back in. But for me, I was just happy to have a kid because it had taken me such a long time to have a child. So I was happy with my son. I noticed he was floppy, you know, so the tone wasn't there as a normal child will have the tone. And what the doctors recommended was that I immediately get him into early intervention, which is to have him have physical therapy, very early speech therapy, as well as, what was the third one? Physical, speech, and occupational therapy. So I started him off with physical therapy when he was about 4 months old. And he had to go in three times we had to go into the doctor a week, each for a different thing, whether it was speech, occupational, or, you know, physical therapy. There are certain, what would you call it? There are certain milestones that every child is supposed to reach, normal milestones. Boys have a slightly delayed milestone target. And I was told that if he was going to be a normal kid, he should start walking by the time he was 18 months. So within 18 months, actually within exactly a year and a half, he started walking. But he walked before he crawled. And I know that he was very focused. It was something that the doctors were kind of shocked about because, yes, they had diagnosed him with Down syndrome from birth, but I had actually gone in and done his chromosome test. And that test determined that he had an extra 21 chromosomes. So it was quite clear that he had Down syndrome. And when we put him on the chart, you know, so they have a growth chart. There's a special chart for children who are born with Down syndrome. And there's a chart for children who are normal. What was fortunate with my son was that he was always on a normal chart. He was on the 95th percentile of a normal child's growth in terms of size, and being able to meet certain milestones. He wasn't able to meet all of them. Speech was one of those that was very delayed. And that was because he had a very floppy tone. He didn't have a lot of tone in his throat, his jaw, his esophagus. So it's something that he still has to continue doing until maybe late in the day. But one of the things I can tell you is that if I had known that having another child immediately after him, that was typical, and a girl would have been very instrumental in improving his speech, I would have done it much, much earlier. Because I have a 3-year-old now, and because she's so talkative and also very irritating and annoying sometimes, she's forced him to speak. He talks not necessarily in a conversational form, but he basically speaks out on what is bothering him, who is doing something wrong. If she's naughty, he will say, "Arrow, get off the trampoline." You know, he say it in maybe 3-4 sentences maximum. All right, but he's gotten a lot of stimulation because of her. And I think one of the things we must do is to promote inclusive education. And I think that is what people are talking about now, because children who have Down syndrome can learn. It's just that they learn differently and they process things differently. Slowly, you have to stimulate them. Once you stimulate them, they know it. So compared to a typical child who will kind of figure things out fairly quickly, most children born with Down syndrome have to experience things to know them. So they're more practical learners than abstract learners. They're also great with pictures. So they learn through pictures. So if you have a great pictorial, they get it. If you're going to do storytelling, and you use a storyboard and you have pictures, in a short time they know it. They're also very good at remembering dates, numbers and dates. I remember I was watching a soccer game one time, and I don't typically remember the numbers of who's scoring, but he knows who scored. He doesn't remember the name of the person, but he knows the number of the person who scored. So I'm saying this to say that it's a spectrum. Some kids may fall on the lower end of the spectrum, others may fall on the higher end of the spectrum. And so not every child born with Down syndrome is the same. But one of the things that we are learning now is that a lot of people who had children who had Down syndrome didn't know much about the disorder, the syndrome. And so many people hid their kids. And in hiding their children, they prevented them from being stimulated and from learning anything. And so, of course, if you don't teach a child and if you don't expose your child to anything, your child will not really know much. And so many people will just presume that that child, for want of a better word, is a dunce. But what we are learning is that when you put them in the same classroom with normal or typical kids, they actually stretch to meet the standard of that child who is typical. And they also learn to behave normally. So if you put children who have learning delays or what they call intellectual disability, and I don't like to use that word, intellectual delays, in a classroom with other kids who have similar or worse conditions, they will copy each other. And in copying each other, they actually regress. So I'm an advocate for having children who are born with Down syndrome to be in regular school class. What that also means is that they need more time than your typical child. It means that they have to be in smaller classroom sizes with more teaching assistants to support the teacher so that they don't hold the class back in trying to make sure that they understand what is being taught. And that's where the challenges are from a developing country context, where in Africa, for instance, or when I say in Africa, let's say in Liberia or even in Ghana, you really have to have money to be able to send your child to an inclusive school. My son was in school in Liberia. He was in a Montessori school, the only Montessori school in the country. And he was doing very well because the class was very small. But the principal changed. She was trained in special needs education. She changed. And then the person who took over really didn't have that interest. So a lot of people actually took their kids out. And these were typical kids. They weren't kids with any kind of delays or disability. So I was forced to bring my son to school in Ghana and put him in an inclusive school. This school, because it's private, costs a lot of money. It costs more than your average college education every year. And while I could afford it, I was dipping a lot into my savings. Because even when you are employed in a developing country context, they don't look at paying tuition fees for your kids or even supplementing it. So when you're in transition, then you have changes and challenges going on with the care, with the educational needs of your child, because one, you can no longer afford paying 12 grand a year, and that's just tuition. We're not talking about transportation to school. We're not talking about school trips. We're not talking about lunch and all those things. So, and I'm not even talking about paying a caregiver to take care of him. So unless you're pretty wealthy, your child is definitely not going to be fully self-expressed. And these are some of the challenges I believe that can change if we look at how we administer social welfare support to families, even in Liberia or in Ghana. I know in the US that is something which is almost a given, but you'd be surprised that even families with children who have Down syndrome actually until the kids are 18 years old before the state can actually pay you as a parent to take care of your kid. It means that many families are still paying out of pocket for their kids' needs. But in a public school setting in the US, you do have special ed. The only challenge is that the class size is big. And so you have to do some extra tutoring, provide some extra tutoring for your child to be up to speed with the school system. But many public schools in the US have an inclusive school program for children who are what we call exceptional these days. We call them exceptional because their needs are really a little bit different than normal. And you really have to take a lot of time to work with them. But they are exceptional in the sense that they also have gifts. And these gifts range from, as one of, I think Rose Joy was saying, the kind of love that they have, which is beyond measure, you know. And when I talk about it, I'm tearing up because it's been very difficult when you have family people who don't understand why you kept this special child. Because in Africa,
Yes.
there's still a lot of stigma associated with disability. And so people think you're stupid to have not aborted your child or to have not, abandoned your child. Because what they are thinking about is just how they going to live from day to day. And if you happen to be the main breadwinner for your family, and all of a sudden you have to change your budget to focus on your child, people get upset. People get upset to the point that they may even endanger your child. And that recently happened to my son. Because now what they want to do is take away caregivers away from your child so that you are really left with nothing. And you may just get so frustrated that you just go send your child to some kind of boarding school and forget about the child, because that's really what they want. They want your money. They don't necessarily want you. So I think having a son like Seyram is in a way a blessing, not just to me, but a blessing to the two countries that I belong to, which is Liberia and Ghana, because we need advocates for these children. And you cannot really be a proper advocate if you're not adequately educated and connected to be able to influence people to see things the other way. And say, for instance, if you don't make amenities available for these kids, they could become truancies and could become what you call your, what's the word, grown-up boys or whatever it is, who may end up stealing, killing and stuff. And it causes more damage to society than if you say, I'm going to tax each person, well, even if it's just 1 cent or even 10 cents, a month in the country, just to be able to have a fund available to help families keep these children. Apart from that, they are brilliant. My son's IQ is 160, which is above normal for a child with Down syndrome. But he cannot fully demonstrate that IQ if we do not improve on his speech and his language. And so we still have to be able to dedicate funds to speech therapy and lots of exposure for him. And then we're talking about not just him, we're talking about so many other kids who can solve lots of problems, scientific problems in this world for us. From the economic standpoint, whatever it is, they could be inventors. There is this guy, he didn't have Down syndrome, but he was a physicist He died recently. I think his last name was Hawkins. He was a professor at Princeton University. He couldn't use his arms, he couldn't use his legs, but he had a brain and he could use his lips. And so he used his lips to type and to learn. And he became a PhD in physics, a renowned PhD in physics, who's taught so many children about quantum physics and space and all those things. And so I think we have to look at things a little bit differently in terms of how we make time and care for children who are differently, who have different abilities. We cannot use a stereotypical mindset to judge anyone, not to mention people who have, special needs. Everybody's different, and I think we have to be a little bit more open-minded to find out what's happening in the world. The children of yesteryears who had Down syndrome are not the same as the ones today. I have seen, when I was at University of Maryland, College Park, I saw students who were in college who had Down syndrome. I have friends whose children have a master's degree and they have Down syndrome. And so we really just cannot discount people just simply because of the way they look. And one of the things I will tell you is that the stigma is so bad that even in the US, people operate on the eyes of their children who have Down syndrome for them to look normal, so that their kids don't get stigmatized. So imagine if that is happening in the US, what more here in Africa, where people just living from day to day, they will dismiss you. Sometimes they even say it's witchcraft. So you have a lot of these, and they're in the majority. We have a majority population that really feel that big is the norm, which actually is not the case. But because they're in the majority, you have challenges. Even going to a playground, for instance, they will even discriminate against your child because he's heavier than your average child. And the reason my son is heavier is because he was born with Down syndrome, and so his tone is not as tight. His muscle tone is not as tight, so he's flabbier in that sense. And so how do we get people to become a little bit more customer-centric in dealing with customers who come from different walks of life, come in different abilities, to be able to give them joy that they want, just to go and play on the playground? You'll have people discriminating against your son. He may jump on a trampoline and all the kids will just get off the trampoline. He'll be the only one there. And he's not the only, it's not to say that he doesn't have a trampoline at home. He does. But how much fun is it to jump alone by yourself? So we have a number of things to look at. We have to look at the health sector and putting diagnostics in place for mothers very early on, before the kids are born. We have to be able to have facilities in place for the speech, occupational, and physical therapy that they need. I remember sometime in 2011, I went to Bone County and I met a child who had Down syndrome but could speak fluent Pele. I mean, it was amazing. I just saw him and I was like, oh my God. And they said the children can't speak. And here's this child speaking Pele like there's no tomorrow. So we really have to start looking out of the box and thinking out of the box and finding there's so many practical ways to help these children and adults and even their parents. But we just have to be able to open up to new ideas without people thinking that you come and take their job from them. All we want to do is to create opportunities within the system for our kids. We're not looking for anybody's jobs. We want to be able to make the system robust for all of us because we're all taxpayers and we want the best for our kids too. So those have been some of the experiences I've had living with a child who has Down syndrome. But But my biggest concern is the educational part and the health part, because they come with, like Eva was saying, there's the congenital part, health part that a lot of them have. Also are delayed in school, not because they cannot learn, but because they get sick too often. Their immune system is very low. And so they try, they're out of school for the most part, and when they come back, they're just trying to catch up. So that's one of the reasons they're delayed. My son has gastric enteritis, so his esophagus all the way down to his stomach is very weak, very little muscles. And so his digestion is very poor, also because he cannot chew very well. And if you don't chew very well, you don't generate the enzymes that you need to digest food properly. And so that also affects your intestines, and it may even lead to what they call Crohn's disease. Is nutrition. So the other challenge we have is that the nutrition for the average child living with Down syndrome is different. You have to give them more whole grains. So processed foods are really out. And of course, once we say processed foods are out, we talk about organic, then the price of his or her nutrition shoots up the roof. Because as you all already know, if you're going organic, then you really must have money, because organic foods are hard to get, because the world has been pumped and overpopulated with processed foods, a lot of junk food, which is cheaper, but most of it is not real. The businessman is just trying to make a lot of profit. So now, if you want natural foods, then you have to pay more for it. So again, it's cost, and cost for your average child who has Down syndrome. And those are some of the things that the parents face in being able to get them good nutrition. Lots of vegetables, lots of plant-based food. So I've gotten him off dairy completely. He's now drinking coconut milk. I'm making, what do you call it? There's this, what we call it, like your Accra Grand Prix, right? So you can actually blend it and squeeze the milk out and use that as milk. So he's also on an alkaline diet. So we try our best to eat more fish, more alkaline foods, more vegetables, more purple foods, more whole grains. So we're looking at beans, lentils, the whole 9 yards. So those are some of the things that we're doing just to try to keep him from going to the hospital. The good thing is that he hasn't had major episodes since, his first bout of pneumonia in the US. Recently, he came down with very severe respiratory infection, which he got from a caregiver through an incident that happened in the house. But he's bearing up. I've been vigilant because I knew what happened. They say, when snake bite you, when you see a worm, you'll run. So basically, the moment the caregiver came down with, that infection, I was gangbusters on him, just keeping his vitamin C going. And so hopefully, by tomorrow, he's going to, break out from the cuff and start, better. So all I can say is we're in a situation where we've been fundraising, because at this point it's very difficult to really build broken systems in developing world context. One of the reasons I came back to Liberia was to be able to share my knowledge and my experience working with international organizations back in my country, but it's not really that easy. And when you bring a child with special needs in tow, it makes it even more difficult. So as much as you want to contribute to society, you realize that the system is just skewed against our countries, because many of us who leave may not never come back, or we have to find other creative ways of giving back, but not necessarily staying on the ground throughout the year. And so we have to think a little bit more creatively about how we can give back. to all countries. But to get the best for my son, it means we will have to return to the US. And one of the things we're doing is organizing a GoFundMe for him called Serum's Hope and Prayer. So if you go to GoFundMe, www.gofundme.com, and you look for Seram, SEYRAM, apostrophe S, Hope, you will find a cause there organized by Bernice Mulba and Mabel Talbert and a few other friends to fundraise to help us get funds to get him back to the US. We are also running a t-shirt drive. So if you go on my page, my Facebook page, Fatu Bedema, Fatu, last name Gbedema, you will see that I have a t-shirt drive up there. And I've also posted a book group that I organized called Common Ground for Exceptionals. Common Ground, COMMON, Ground, GROUND, for the Exceptionals, EXCEPTIONA. It's a group. You go in there, this is basically to build awareness about what's happening with other kids who have Down syndrome and how well they're doing. And it's basically meant to give people in our part of the world hope that they shouldn't give up on their kids, and that these kids really are exceptional and can actually become breadwinners. I haven't been, I've been what you call underemployed for the past year and a half. With the COVID coming in and people under lockdown, I've had to leave South America where I was working to come back home to see about my kids. And when you are very highly paid professional, it's very difficult to get back into employment because people say, oh, just remove your CV, move some of your degrees and stuff like that from your CV and, go apply for any job. It's not that easy. Because the moment they start talking to you, they know right away that you're smarter than them. And most people want people they can manage. And I wouldn't want to go into an environment to undermine a boss that I know I am more qualified than. No matter how much you put them at ease, it's just very difficult for them. And so it's about biding the time. And I believe that going back to the States will be able to give me more opportunities to get into a job that, fits my background, my profile. So in the time being, what I'm doing is just helping to fundraise. And like I was saying, it is my son who's actually bringing food to the table now. Can you imagine that? People have said a lot of things about my son. Oh, your son is useless. He can't do this, he can't do that. But he is the current breadwinner for this household simply because of his disability. And so we really think about ourselves as people and how we view who is valuable and who's not. You never know who's valuable to you until things change, So that's just a little bit of my story. And I'm hoping that, the few things that I've shared can give people hope. And I don't want to make this just about my son. I really want to engage Social Security in Liberia to see how best something can be done for children and their parents who have special needs, not physical disability, because I believe that has been taken care of. But we're talking about intellectual disability or intellectual delays. Something has to be done with some sort of intervention with Social Security and welfare to see how best some kind of support parents and their kids. And so for me, that's my overall long-term goal when it comes to this awareness that I'm building through Common Ground for Exceptionals, that at least if I can give back to Liberia, that would be it. That we can get experts in, speech therapists in, we can get people in who can teach, teachers to become special ed instructors. We can have those who are already doing physical therapy. How do you include special, those with special needs who have physical delays into the picture, like aqua therapy, for instance. and then occupational therapy. And I have a lot of contacts of people all over Africa who use craft as occupational therapy. And so those are ways in which we can bring all these resources and networks together to be able to help our people. I think that's the best we can do, given our own circumstances.
Definitely. One second, I'm gonna mute you and then I'll talk. Yeah, Fatu, thank you. I didn't want to interrupt you because there was that back and forth with the phone. I don't know what's going on with that, but thank you for coming on and telling us your story. I hope a lot of people will look at this and see what you're talking about, because I know there's a lot of children back home that have developmental needs. I work with a school back home, and we had some kids in the school. We had one little girl that had epilepsy, and she had some developmental challenges. And like you said, education, especially back home, is a big thing. It's a big awareness, and education is a big problem, because they would look at her and think that, oh, somebody wish her, oh, they said that her mom sell her to whatever or whatever. But with us getting these kids, especially in Liberia, getting them the right help, the right type of education, educating the people about special needs children. And sometimes, like you said, it's not only about the physical, it's not only about the physical part of it, the mental part of it, the behavioral part of it, things like that. That is really good. I put the link in the bio for your for the t-shirt and for the GoFundMe for Sarah. I know some of the stuff that you've been going through, and how and I know it's challenging on you mentally and physically, but I commend you for doing what you're doing for your child. You've sacrificed a lot for him, and that's something that some people will not do. A lot of people will give their child away. They will just abandon them. Don't care anymore. Just leave them. But you've done an exceptional job with him, and I just want to commend you.
Yeah, Eva, I want to say something. I want to piggyback off you. So like I was saying, I used to work with kids, a lot of kids, with Down syndrome and other Down syndrome stuff. So, and one time I saw a Nigerian kid, a Nigerian boy. So he couldn't talk a lot, but he was saying like he wanted to eat fufu. So I'm like, a Nigerian family dropped the kid off here, and I'm thinking to myself, and all along, like every time I go, I'd be like, do they bring him food from the country? Do they, And everybody's like, they don't even count. So, like you said, telling Ms. Fatu that you commend her for taking care of a kid, because for me, even though I don't have a kid like that, but I have worked with kids like that all my life. And I know some of them became my own kids. It came a time that I would cry if this kid is moving from this place to another facility. I would cry and I would be so depressed because, I would think like going to work, what to do for me, how to hug me, how to take my boy to the kitchen and, all the other fun things. So I just want to commend Ms. Fatu too, because I know how difficult it is. Not even being a parent or a kid, but just going into work for 8 hours, 16 hours, and sometimes it gets so frustrating. I know I've been there, like, during my young life, imagine young girl, 20, 21, 22, don't even know what it means, but had to experience it and know it. So I do want to commend you too, and to our African parents, to our African family, the kids are kids. even the normal ones, they give you so much hard time. They let you down. I think we should do more keeping the kids at home. I think it make them better. It gives them different perspective of life, and it teach them the reason to have family around, like Miss Fatu said. Her daughter make her son to talk more and interact more, because she's like, go that way, go that way. So he's like, he sees someone that he's related to that love him doing different things, so he wants to be like that too. So it's a very good thing, because that Nigerian boy was he was so great. Like, the boy would talk, he would name all the food in Nigeria. It would be so funny, and he would say he wants to eat them, but his parents never come around. They never even drop, foods like that to him. Sometimes I would carry African food, I would sneak in and give it to him small, and he would eat it, and he would be so happy. I would tell him, don't tell nobody, because we're not allowed to give them outside food. But I really commend you, and I do want to be a part of the awareness group or whatever you're doing. I have a foundation. I would talk to you off here if we can run something when I come to Liberia. If you are still there, I can meet up with you. We can do some program. We can do some intervention for kids and stuff like that. I really want to be a part, because I know what it is. I know how it feels like. I have been there. I've gotten, like I said, I've taken 800 milligram ibuprofen, because one of them have knocked my head off, or turned my arm, because they got so frustrated. They have no clue what to do at that point. So I have lived that. So I would rather love to be a part of this, and I wish you the best. Being a parent is it's the best thing in this world, especially the love you have for your kids. And we don't need to lose that love because we feel our kids are different from other kids, because kids are kids. You never know who they can be tomorrow. Even the normal kids become they become nothing tomorrow, and it frustrates you as a parent. So you never know who to really, what a kid would be. So we always need to be very mindful that everybody counts, no matter where it's from, how they were born, how they interact with you, they count, because you never know tomorrow. So I'm so passionate about this, because I know I have lost so many kids. I said that my kids, they're gone. And up to the day, I still think about them. I still think about those kids. Yeah. So I commend you, Miss Fatu.
All right, Jennifer, you got anything to say? And then we'll try to close up a little bit. I'll give Fatu about 2 minutes to close up.
No.
All right, Fatu, 2 minutes close up, and then we'll, like Rose, she'll contact you offline.
All right, Fatu, 2 minutes close up, and then we'll, like Rose, she'll contact you offline.
Okay, I just want to say it's just a pleasure coming on your show to talk about kids with exceptionality. I have been watching your announcements, your posts, and one day just clicked and said, let me reach out to Eva and see whether, we could do something to talk about, children who live with Down syndrome. So I just want to say that I'm so grateful and thankful for your having me on the show. It's been a real joy to be able to talk about these challenges. I have my daughter here. She's one of those who likes to be in the fries. And I just want to leave a little joke. We're talking about kids, who Down syndrome, who are slow to talk. And I was saying my daughter stimulated him to the point where now, when she's doing a lot of naughty things, he basically is able to report her to me and say, Mommy, come and see Claro. So today, young lady decided that she was going to fertilize the plants in the yard instead of going to the bathroom. So he actually called me to come and intervene. And it's the same way that she herself, a 3-year-old, was able to intervene in a very life-threatening incident that happened in the house 2 weeks ago. So like what Joy Rose was saying, Rose Joy was saying, these kids are just gifts, and they're exceptional in the sense that they bring special elements to life. And you know, what's the whole objective of living? The whole objective of living is really to love people, and for people to love us. I think that's the way we all feel the most value, is when people see us as people who are lovable and people who can also give love. All right. And so when we talk about children with Down syndrome, they really are the height of love. They are at the highest level of love. They're very forgiving. They're very real. They speak their minds. They don't hide anything. They tell you what's on their mind. But at the same time, they are extremely loving, and they use love to heal. They use love to connect people together. They use love to bring joy. So I wouldn't say that I've had a lot of challenges with my son in terms of difficulty, behavioral issues. Like every child, if you show love, they give you love. It's just like a mirror. If you show hate, they give you just what you give to them back. And so if you are more controlled and you are able to be less anxious and have less anxiety and do things very slowly with them, and be patient with them, the rewards that you get are fantastic. I can wake up in the morning, my son comes without me telling him, and he comes to clean the kitchen, to sweep the kitchen, to wash dishes without me saying it. There are many people who are adults who are typical, who, you know, how would I call it? Who are smelling themselves, let's put it that way, but will not even take their dishes to the kitchen to wash. I don't have that problem with my son. My son likes to wash. They like routines. And so if he can wash, he will wash. You give him clothes, he'll be very happy to go wash your clothes. You give him dishes to wash, he will wash it. Give him broom, he will sweep. You know, so you just have to treat your child like a normal child. Don't think that he cannot do it. All you have to do is to say it will take him a longer time, and I have to tell him to do it more times than usual to get it right, but he will get it. And that is how you eventually become, have a child who is independent. It's just painstaking, but the rewards are phenomenal. All right. Before, I used to be so scared to take my son out, but now I can take him out to the hospital and he will stay still. All right. And so it's just time. And so I want us, you know, the average family in Africa that I'm speaking to, who has a child with special needs, to be patient with their child and not to hide their child, and to look for a support group. I just want to speak to that. If you don't have a support group, please just go to my Facebook page, Common Ground for Exceptionals, and just send me a message and say, I need help. I'm part of the World Global Down Syndrome Association, and we have families who share so much. In fact, the kind of information I've learned from these support groups, even doctors don't have. Sometimes the kids come up with infections no doctor can diagnose, but only that parents will come and say, oh, they will show you a picture of it and say, this is how we treated it. And that is how I've been able to handle my son. You know, so don't feel that you're alone. Don't worry. Sometimes your family is not your immediate family. Sometimes your family is somebody down the road or somebody on Facebook. You know, so just come, go to Common Ground for Exceptionals, or just Facebook me, Fatu Bedema. All right. My name is showing up over there. And just send me a message and say you need help. And I'll be able to connect you with different groups. You get support from there. Like I was saying, we're doing a fundraiser for my son. And I just want to encourage people. I know that we're going through a lot of hardship with COVID. A lot of families are in distress. But one thing I will tell you is that when you give, even when you don't have, the rewards are even enormous. You cannot even imagine it. And so you don't have to even say you're giving money. Sometimes it's just sharing the post or sharing a link. or telling somebody you know who you think can help to make a donation to Common Ground for Exceptionals, or to just go on my page and send me a message, or just go to GoFundMe and look for Saram's Hope and Prayer. And even if it's $10, you'd be surprised what that $10 can do for you. $10 in Ghana, for instance, can buy my electricity for what? 4, 5, 6 days. All right? $10 can do that. So don't feel shy about sending it. If you feel that you don't want your name, you can always send it anonymously. But those are the little things that are really helping us keep things together. The reason electricity is so critical is that children with Down syndrome have a certain situation where they're not able to cool their bodies down. We sweat on a normal basis to cool down, but they cannot sweat as much, so they're always hot. Even when it's cold, they're hot. So when the light goes off, as we already know, in our part of the world, when there's no light, they're burning. All right. So being able to even keep the fan on is like a blessing, so that he can keep his body cool. So it's just those little things. What we're trying to do is we're trying to raise almost $15,000. We're trying to raise this amount over a period of 6 months. We're hoping that by September we can go to the US. And what we're trying to do is just trying to fundraise. So again, is GoFundMe, Saram's Hope and Prayer. The funds are going towards his feeding. They're going towards getting a special needs educator to come in the meantime 2 times a week to help him with his schooling, because he can actually read and he does math. And we also want to spend 1 extra day on vocational training for him to learn some kind of craft, all right, to keep him busy. And then, of course, for him to go swimming, because his tone, he doesn't have a lot of muscle around his bones. So it's better for him to do swimming than to go walking. And so we also want to buy tickets, myself, my daughter, and him, to go to the US so that he can get back into the social services system to get the help that he needs. And so that's really what I have been going through. And I'm hoping that my experience can also help other parents get similar type of help and support with their special needs kids. I don't like to use the word special needs. I tend to want to use exceptional, because really they are just exceptional. Exceptional in the circumstances, their challenges, but also exceptional in the kind of gifts that they have. And I'm hoping that most people can be inspired to share just a little of what they have to help us achieve the goals. And it's not just about Saram, it's also about helping other kids in Liberia, as well as in Ghana, who are in a similar situation, have similar conditions, to improve their livelihoods and to also give them more knowledge and support to help them deal with.
I think Fatu went off, but well, you guys have heard from her. You've heard from us. Donate, please go donate. And also, we want to thank you guys for being here tonight. Wasn't too many people on, but we appreciate the ones we were on. Share the video. We'll see you guys back next week. Next week, will probably be plenty on here, because the team we're talking about, you'll be here to talk about it plenty. But when you're having these intellectual stuff like this and educational stuff,
important conversation.
People aren't on live. Yes. Next week you will see there will be here plenty. But thank you for coming on, whoever did. Watch it in the background, share it with somebody. Next week, Friday, don't miss next week, Friday's show. Next week, Friday is what's going to be Freaky Friday. So just make sure you talk the children in. Come back here for us to discuss. Now, next week, we're going to be talking to the fellows. It's not going to be about the ladies. So we're looking for some fellas. Come on, let us know. What do y'all want? What do y'all want in the bedroom? What are your perspective about sex? What is it that you need from us or so? We'll be willing to talk about it next week. So don't be shy. Contact us. You can get guests or whatever. We can have other important conversation as usual. I see Lo-Fi is here licking his lips. But definitely, y'all can come on. All right, y'all. We've had a busy show. Next week, join us. Thank you for watching us again. Follow us on Facebook at LIB Talks fan page, Instagram LIB Talks. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we're here every Friday at 7 p.m. Every single Friday at 7 p.m. So come
thank you guys. Before you guys get up, I just want to say thank you to you guys. Today's show was it was a great one. It was very educational. And your guest was indeed wonderful. She educated us on a lot of things, and I'm just a little bit downhearted of the fact that I did not see the numbers that I would expect to have here listening to these kind of things, because we as parents, you never know when you're gonna be blessed with a child in this situation. And I chose the word blessed carefully because they are blessed to be a part of you, because that extra love, like she spoke of, like Rose spoke of, I mean, these things, you can't take them for joke.
No.
But unfortunately, in our community, in our society, we gravitate more towards negativities as compared to the positive aspects of things that's supposed to educate us and our generations to come after. And that's the reason why some of us, when we take to the political arena, we don't, we just give them it, we give it to them raw. We don't hold back, because some of these things, it don't matter how you try to educate these people, they just don't get it. Like, there was a guy on here who was asking, he came purposely for political discussion, like, Lo-Fi, what's happening? One Abu. But the minute he started listening to you guys educate people, boom, he ran away. But the minute I come on here to talk about politics and the CDC, then he gonna come out here and run his mouth. You know, those that tend to frustrate me about some of their behavior. But I want to say thanks to you guys. I don't want to take people off track with what we discussed. Thanks to you guys for the work, and keep showing light on some of these things so that other people can learn and get the needed education. Thank you guys.
Yes.
All right.
All right, y'all. It's been wonderful tonight. Thank you guys. Good nights. And I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Oh, she was trying to come back.
Hello, hello, hello. My name is Miss Monet. I'm a neo-traditional artist from Mama Liberia. I showcase our Liberian culture and tradition to the rest of the world. And today, you are watching Across Africa TV network.